Today's episode of the BS Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek, our presenting sponsor, and the only fan-friendly app for buying and selling tickets for sports and music. Other sites have the nasty habit of showing you lower prices, charging you huge fees at checkout. At SeatGeek, the price you see is always the price you pay. To start using SeatGeek, download the free SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Today's episode also brought to you by Trunk Club. Look your best in clothes that are handpicked by a personal stylist and fit perfectly, like Craig Kilborn's clothes today. They'll pick you clothes from over 80 brands and send them right to you for free. You have 10 days to decide if you'll keep them. Again, premium clothes, expert advice, no work. Get started today at trunkclub.com/BS. And don't forget to subscribe to our new Ringer podcast, the Ringer NBA show, the Ringer NFL show, Keeping It 1600, and The Watch, all available right now on their own feeds. Let's do it.
Yeah. Clear enough for you?
All right. Well, I never thought this day would happen. We ran into each other 2 weeks ago on the streets of Los Angeles. And we were just talking on a street for a half hour, 35 minutes, 40 minutes. We power walked together. We decided to do a podcast together. He's here. Craig Kilborn, how are you?
This is so exciting. Nice to see you. Can I make an opening statement?
Please do.
I've timed it at 45 minutes, the opening statement. I'm kidding.
Okay.
So I don't do interviews. I just like, it's relaxing not to. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I might say something controversial. For example, I have a wonderful lady friend. She doesn't like the term girlfriend. I've known her for 13 years. We've been together maybe 6 years. And she's what we call an exotic waif. Now, I don't even know if we're allowed to say that anymore.
We're totally allowed to say it. That's great.
And another term is a gamine, which is a French term, which means, I was going to have your buddy look that up, but it's kind of fun. I use the word gamine, which is a slim lady with a mischievous, boyish charm. It's a French term, by little gamine. So I have this lovely lady friend. So, and I'm magical, and I'm walking, and we don't want to give away where you live, but let's just say it's north of Compton. We don't want to give away our neighborhood.
No, fair.
And we met, but I met you when you weren't Bill Simmons. I met you, I didn't even know, you said we met, you and Gus Ramsey, the great producer, came to the show, and I thought you meant LA, but I talked to Gus, he said, no, it was in New York. I didn't know.
It was like in 1997.
Okay,
I was making $50 a week writing a column on Digital City Boston and bartending at night. That's what I met you. We had a great dinner together.
Yeah, so I don't recall it, which is fine.
Why? You would never be able to recall it, except Rebecca Lobo joined us, and she was fascinating.
Yes, and a very nice lady. And Gus reminded me that Rebecca and I used to play one-on-one at Madison Square Garden. She had the keys to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, she's on the Liberty.
Yes, and it's not important that I won, but I probably could have beaten Lisa Leslie. But that's another story.
Wait, but Gus said when you were playing, if people walked in, you would make a shot and go 21-4 game. Yeah. Just for the people thinking that you killed Rebecca Lobo.
He likes to remind me of all these things. But so basically, I haven't met you except for I didn't count that as meeting you. And now you're this juggernaut of NBA, and I love the NBA.
I know.
And I said, I don't do interviews. And I said, you know what? This guy loves the NBA. Plus, you're launching a show. I want to help you launch a show.
Thank you.
Because I give.
Yeah.
And I said, why not shoot the shit with this guy concerning the NBA? That would be and the love of the game. And I have so many. I don't know if we'll get to them, but I have little anecdotes that you'll like. I want to see your response to them. I might answer a few Tom Brady questions that I've been asked, and then I'll let you weigh in.
Okay.
But that's kind of fun. But I said I'll do this because I want to talk NBA.
No, that you
What's
really
your buddy's
did this.
name, by the way? When I lean
That's
back,
Joe, our producer.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't even remember meeting him earlier. I'm kidding. When I lean back, can you still hear? Is it still mellifluous tones?
It's fine.
Okay.
So Rip, but let's be honest though. The only reason you did this is because the Minnesota Timberwolves have hope for the first time in 10 years, and you just want to rave about the T-Wolves.
Okay.
How happy you are.
Truth be told, first of all, I like. You might believe in them more than I do. I'm very cautiously optimistic.
You watch like every minute of every game this season.
And a couple of my buddies have pointed out, I got to do a quick shout out. My friend, I reference Goldie.
Yeah.
You know Alex Sulkin. You know him.
I do.
Yes, I know. These were guys that worked on my old show, and now they're at Family Guy. And congratulations to Goldie. His show, his name's Julius Sharp. His show got picked up by Fox yesterday, his sitcom. It's called Making History. Congratulations to Goldie. Those guys are huge Patriot fans. I'm going to tell you some stories later, if we get to them. So Goldie said to me a few years ago, he says, this is when it was Randy Foy, Al Jefferson. Oh my God, you watch every game. That's admirable. That's admirable that you watch every game. And I have it down to an art form. I will turn it off. There's no reason to go through agony. Just enjoy the 22 wins. Just enjoy the 22 wins. I'm going to jump around, and I apologize. If they didn't trade Brandon Roy for Randy Foy on draft day,
2006.
KG would not have gotten a championship. Brandon Roy would have played with KG. They would have made the playoffs. They may have had another player. Maybe they get the 7th, 8th seed. I don't think KG would have ever left. And I'm glad he left because I wanted him to win a championship. I'm happy for Kevin Love. I'm a basketball fan first. For 20 years, I was an NBA fan with no team. And that's where I wanted to start off with basketball. My
Well, that's
beginning.
true because you grew up in Minnesota and they don't have a team.
My father took a job transfer from New Jersey to Hastings, Minnesota. He worked in St. Paul. And he said when we got there, he said, don't talk like the locals. Okay, that's what he said. And I wanted to ask you, this is one thing I wanted to tell you, because I want to see, I do like, you're opinionated, and it's entertaining when guys are
But
opinionated.
not in a hot take way. I genuinely
You
believe what
it.
I say.
I was wondering that. I was wondering that. I did minor research because that's what I wanted to tell you. People have told me you got to read Bill Simmons' book. It's great, and I said I know the guy's funny. I know he loves the NBA. I read way too many NBA books as a kid.
Yeah.
Zeke from Cabin Creek, Jerry West, the Houdini of the Hardwood, Bob Cousy, the Foul the Connie Hawkins story, and on and on and on. I'm going to say something about college, and then I'm going to go to my childhood, and then we can just go all NBA. But this is NBA related. So I play basketball at Montana State University, and if you'd like to talk about the skills, we can.
Any tournament potential there or no?
Not when I was there.
Yeah, I remember at some point they made it.
After I left, they played St. John's. After I left, they were the 16th seed in the West. I did have I had a 20-point game at Idaho, and they were in a tournament. They were very good at the time. The first game I started, I'll quickly get rid of this.
What was your game, like a late 70s Ken Reeves type of game, like early Don Nelson, or like a more Chase Budinger athletic type game?
This is going to surprise you.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back to. Can you remember this? This is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. I'm keeping track mentally.
So there are 12 of us on the team. This is in 81, 82 is my freshman year. 2 of us are Dr. J fans. So I'm a Dr. J fanatic. Julius Winfield Irving II, his wife's name is Turquoise, blah, blah, blah. My brother discovered him when he was at UMass because he goes, this guy's averaging 20 rebounds a game. They couldn't play as a freshman. His sophomore year, he has 20 rebounds a game. I was a Walt Frazier fan first. My dad was a Knicks fan. I was Walt Frazier, then it was Dr. J. And by the way, you can love 2 players. I love Larry, and we're going to talk about Larry. I love Larry and Dr. J. You can love Tim Duncan, and you can love Kevin Garnett. You can love, as you said off air, you can love 2 women at the same time. I've heard you say that. but basically, I had these 12 guys on the team, so 2 of us are Dr. J fans, and I go up, and the rest are Celtic and Laker fans. And I go up to the guy. I go up to a Celtic fan. I said, "Who's the biggest whiner in the NBA?" This is predated 5 questions. I would just like to interview the guys. Who's the biggest whiner in the NBA? The Celtic fans say, "Oh, it's not even close. It's Magic and Kareem." And then you
Well,
ask,
it was Kareem. That is the answer.
Then you ask the Laker fans, "Who's in the entire NBA?" You don't have to name it. The Laker fans say it's not even close. Danny Ainge and Kevin McHale.
Probably Danny Ainge.
Yeah. So that's I do enjoy these opinions, but we know that people are. It's like this guy he's a Laker fan. He says, "Why do you hate the Lakers so much?" I says, "No, they're overrated. The Shaq Kobe team didn't have a starting 5. I don't care that they won 3 in a row. As I told you the other day, you can be a single champion like Larry Brown's Pistons and be a superior championship team. Do you know what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
And the Spurs are a dynasty, despite what Uncle Phil likes to say.
It's a semi-dynasty.
Well, I don't know what your definition of a dynasty is, but they're such a great team, and I love them, and they could have won more championships, so that's okay. But they won enough.
I came up with a word called dynastender.
What does that mean?
It's a dynasty contender.
Do you think they have to? Do you believe?
I think a dynasty is like when the Celtics won 11 and 13. That's a dynasty.
Well, that's more than a dynasty. That's like that's outrageous.
The Spurs won 5 and 18. It's not a dynasty. It's great. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I don't care about the
Bulls
term.
6-8 is kind of a mini dynasty.
I don't care about. Well, see, that's the thing. I wanted to say that the people thought I despised the Lakers. There was a guy out here who's a Laker fan, and I always say,
You mean when you were on SportsCenter, they thought that?
No, when I was doing the CBS show, because that's when Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah.
And it was as this guy said to me, he was a Laker fan. He was playing ball with wearing his Laker warm-ups. And I always say, where are you from? And he goes, I'm from LA. And I go, good. You're not moving here and jumping on the bandwagon. And he says, I said, the fans are obnoxious. People, they overrate their team. They're delusional. It's their God-given right to win the championship every year. Laker fans, they save their best outfits for the finals, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, oh, I get it. It's probably why I don't really appreciate Springsteen, because the fans are so rabid. So it's that kind of thing. But I wanted to say this. I said this to you the other day, and I'm fine with what you said. I said, don't think I hate the Lakers. I'm objective. The greatest team, I had more of a problem. I root for underdogs. I had more of a problem with the Bulls. I didn't think the 90s were the greatest decade for basketball. It was very good, but after the expansion drafts, 4 teams coming in.
And you lost some dudes. Some of the young dudes who were supposed to be great weren't as good as we thought. So I thought, people who think the Bulls are the greatest team of all time, I disagreed, because I thought there were 3 teams in the 80s that could have beaten them, maybe even more. Some people would say the Moses Dr. Sixers, but I like the bad boy Pistons. But I said, to show that I'm objective, I said the Lakers of the 80s were the best team. And I'd rather say the Celtics, and you, of course, say the Celtics, and I'm fine with that. That's fine. The 86 Celtics, 1 loss at home, and the 50-1 at home. But for me, it's like simple math. Like with the 86 Celtics, 87 Lakers, there's only 21 teams.
Yeah.
And if you had a 30-team league in 1986, Kevin McHale's just not on the Celtics. Like he's on Orlando.
Right.
And it's just not the same team.
So many stories. Oh, God.
Wait, can we talk about the Lakers for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kobe, you've been here most of the time Kobe played. When did you move to LA?
Well, the good news is,
like
I lived here in the late 80s.
But then you were in New York for the Daily Show.
And so then I moved back here in 99.
So the Kobe Love Fest that happened this year.
Yeah. Well, here's the good news.
Did you buy it? Were you buying or selling?
Oh, here's the good. Well, we bonded over this the other day. I didn't know. The good news is I don't actively play or hate. It's just a waste of energy.
Yeah.
But I like to talk basketball. He's of the all-time greats. He's one of the most flawed. From a basketball standpoint, it's basically his shot selection, and which results in a low field goal percentage. So as I say to people, he's a better outside shooter than Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. They shoot 49, 50%. He shoots 44%. And the good news is there are media members that know that it's kind of a joke. He seduces a lot of fans by making trick shots. Not trick shots, but he'd rather fall down with 2 guys draped on him for a 3-pointer than dump into Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
And it's the wow factor. It's all this kind of stuff. And I see through that because I'm a little more advanced. No, because you
played basketball.
And so he takes these, and I don't read the Phil Jackson books, but I heard that he talked about Kobe in high school sabotaging the games. He wants his furious comeback where I'm allowed to take 35-footers now. It's exciting. And so I think I never thought he made his teammates better. I thought there were actually times I thought he would jump in the air and make a cross-court pass to the open guy. Hey, everybody, look what I just did. You better make that shot. He would exaggerate the pass to say, you better make that shot. And how about when he moped against Phoenix? Remember when he moped against
2006.
Phoenix? When he didn't make the playoffs after Shaq left?
Yeah.
He just
Game
said, I'm not. Yeah.
Hot potatoed it.
What'd you think of that?
I didn't like that. I think Kobe's had some bad endings. I mean, I think he's one of the best 10 players of all time.
I don't have him in the top 10. I purposely made my top 10 not to have him in there. But I have Oscar Robertson in my top 10. That's the guy that I have Oscar Robertson in my top 10.
I have him and West in the top 10.
I don't have West in the top 10. I actually was talking to
Barkley.
Really?
No West in the top 10.
No, I actually put Barkley. I told Barkley my top 10 once. And he goes, do you have Shaq in there? And I said, yeah, I don't like Shaq's game. But he was dominant.
I had Shaq like 11th.
Okay.
See, the thing with Kobe is it was just so many years in a row. Like if you just look at the first team All-NBAs, which I think is a really good indicator, he's basically the best 2-guard in the league for 14 years.
Yeah. Well, he definitely capture the imagination of the fans because of his competitive nature and he's good like Michael Beasley in the Summer League scoring 58. He's good at his last game
and
scoring 60.
He's good at branding.
Yes.
Like he's good, almost like how Madonna keeps reinventing themselves. Kobe was good at reinventing himself. I
see through him. But I wasn't a big Van Damme. No, I'm just kidding. I was trying to think of at the end in 2010. See, I've always
2010 finals.
No, just the end of the decade, player of the decade.
Oh.
It was too easy. It's Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is the
No
greatest.
question.
And people were like Kobe. Anyways, I want to go back to my childhood.
Wait, can we say one Kobe thing?
I want to go back to my childhood. But
we talked about this, but let's have the conversation again. Game 7.
I gave my brother that information yesterday. My brother's in Chicago, great guy. I'm going to reference him in a little bit. I have the greatest older brother in the world.
The Kobe story I told you?
You said, because my brother likes Thibodeau because he was in Chicago.
Game 7, 2010.
And you said
Thibodeau and
Thibodeau's,
Doc.
Yes.
Yeah, their whole
double
game
team
plan.
him. He will not pass the ball.
Yeah, Kobe's going to want to be the hero. It's Game 7. We're going to double team him the whole game, and he'll keep shooting. And they almost won that way.
Yeah.
And then in the fourth quarter, he started passing.
I don't think it's just impossible to win Game 7s on the road. By the way, I'll give you some of these
Who's
opinions.
done that? Just like the 74 Celtics? I think that was the last time.
I don't remember, but I will say this, that I do, and I don't want to be a curmudgeon. I see the flaws in sports. There are a few things I see, and you do this for a living, so
you get older,
you're immersed.
Yeah.
So the Celtics lose Game 7. The reason they didn't have Game 7, I assume the Eastern Conference may have been better, or maybe they had some injuries during the year. So that's the problem. It's a flaw. So here's my thing. People will say, well, anything can happen in a one game, like in a Super Bowl, it can be an upset, blah, blah, blah. But in a 7-game series, the best team always wins. I calmly disagree. It's not true. I think the best team does not always win in a 7-game series. That's my opinion. I thought the Celtics were better than that Boston.
Perkins
that
got hurt
team.
in Game 6.
Yeah, so
I still feel like the 2013 Spurs were better than the 2013 Heat. That was one of the rare times I felt like the wrong team won the finals. And that game was over in Game 6. They're up 5,
by the way,
and it was just done.
I'm a Popovich fan. I didn't say it afterwards. I said it when it happened. I know why he did it. Why are you putting Tim Duncan on the bench? He's your best rebounder. Because they had to shoot a 3.
And your smartest player.
Yeah. You have to shoot a 3. Timmy can't guard the 3-point line. Okay, yes, he can. And he did it the next year against Russell Westbrook in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They were terrible. Shot at the backboard. But the reason they got 2 shots is because there were 2 rebounds. They missed their 3 offensive rebound. Tim would have had that. And then I think LeBron made a 3. And then Ray Allen hit the 3 on a rebound. You know what I'm saying?
It was like a 1 in 1,000
The question
sequence.
I would say is, would the Spurs have won back-to-back? I don't know, because they won next year.
Yeah, I actually don't think they would have.
Yeah.
I think it actually drove them
And
next
the
year.
other thing I wanted to ask you, I know that, so I do not watch as much as I used to, but I follow it. Like last night, I just follow it. I watch some. If I think Miami has a chance, I'm going to watch. And then I follow it on the computer, and then I'll rejoin the game. I've got things to do.
Right, you're busy.
I'm cooking. I'm listening. I'm not going to bore you with Bill
You've got
Evans.
your art.
So I wanted to ask you.
Well, you're going to go to your childhood.
I'm going to go to my childhood in a second.
You're going to save that.
I'm going to go to my childhood. Well, I want to get to that, but question for you, because I know you watch a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You love passing. We love passing.
I grew up on Bird.
Oh, God, I got so many stories.
Bird was the greatest passer I'll ever see in my life.
Oh, my God.
And on the West Coast, everyone got to watch Magic. Each coast had their own passing god.
I'm going to tell you, I was going to ask you, because I really like that Sacramento passing team, the Rick
Very
Adelman.
fun one, underrated.
And when the Spurs won, when they beat Miami,
14.
everyone was raving about their passing. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
How about
I was going to ask
77
you,
Blazers?
Oh, yeah,
Another one.
Yeah. Remember when he did this running down the court? So, anyways, let me say something about passing. I was just going to ask you how great that passing of the Spurs was, and you know, was it better than Sacramento's? I guess maybe, but and I do have. We can get into it later as we jump. I apologize for jumping around, but you know, the 3-pointer is becoming. We're going to set when Cleveland plays the Warriors. If that's what happens, they're going to set a record for threes, and they're trying to eliminate the dominant big man, Bill. It's all part of this equality thing. I'm kidding. But
don't you think the AAU is eliminating the dominant big man? If you're a tall guy, you want to handle
Yeah.
the ball, or else you're not going to get it. And now we're this whole generation of guys don't actually want to be big men.
I had a. I'm allowed to name drop because I had a talk
Please
show.
do. You had a talk show for a while.
I was talking to
You had 2 talk shows.
John Cleese.
Yeah.
And we had dinner together a few times.
Yeah.
And I'm a big, I watched Monty Python growing up, Minnesota, and somehow soccer came up.
Oh.
And I said, I just can't get excited about where only one guy can use their hands, a sport where only one guy, the goalie, can use their hands. And I said something to basketball is maybe I shouldn't use the word superior. Basketball is a superior sport and they're superior athletes, and he was like, oh, that's your American arrogance talking and blah, blah, blah. How come it's so worldwide popular? And I said, well, beer is pretty popular too. I'll take the Pinot Noir, which Popovich drinks, by the way.
Yeah, big wine guy.
I was at that restaurant Bouchon in Beverly Hills, there's one up in Yountville and Napa, and they have a nice pewter bar, and it's a curved bar, and I said to the bar, I was with my lady friend, and I said, I just did, there's no one there. I said, can I have a Pinot Noir, kind of like Popovich, just to see if the guy even knows who the hell he was a young guy.
You name drop Popovich.
I just said,
Okay.
I'll have a Pinot Noir like Popovich does, just to, like, my dad used to check into hotels when I worked at ESPN. He goes, it's spelled like Kilborn, like the guy at ESPN, just to have a little fun. You know what I'm saying? So I just said Popovich, and the guy turned out to be a sports fan. He goes, Popovich was in here. He drinks also Chardonnay. I said, tell me the story. He said, it was this summer. And I said, well, what was it like? He said, I said, are you in town? The bartender said, are you in town for business or pleasure? He goes, business. I go, well, what business? He goes, we just signed LaMarcus Aldridge, because he was in town.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, congratulations. And he goes, hi, I'm Pop. He introduced himself. I love Pop. Now, I disagree with him.
Pop and Belichick, two allegedly two of the greatest hangs, and you would never know from the interviews, but like great dinner companions apparently.
God, should I get rid of my? I have to tiptoe around certain people. So Goldie and Alex Sulkin, they're Patriot fans, and years ago, now, there is a thing just to let you know. You know how some fans
Don't hurt my feelings.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm going to have a little fun, and then we'll move on.
We're Patriot
You're
fans
a very
are so,
nice person.
No, Patriot fans are so thin-skinned right now
you
about
already
this
answered
Deflategate thing.
No, you already answered it.
I was
going to say, you've already answered that there are certain, like the Yankees are hated and the fans relish in that. They're fine with that. And even Boston Celtic fans, the Celtics are so dominant forever, even though they're patches, the 60s, they relish in it. Oh my God, are Patriot fans sensitive?
It's us against everyone.
Yeah. But here's a little.
But
can I do a little
quarterback
joke?
got railroaded though.
Can I do a little joke?
This is different.
I don't even care about that. I get bothered by win one Super Bowl convincingly, please, which is more than which. But here's the thing.
Fair.
But can I? I'm going to give you one. This is a little bit of a joke. So people come up to me and they always ask me, because I have no horse in this race. Who's a better quarterback? Peyton Manning or Tom Brady? And I say, well,
people come up to you and ask you this?
no, I'm just doing this. I'm just doing this to manipulate.
Got it. I
Manipulate.
Okay.
And I said, teams win Super Bowls, superior quarterbacks win regular season MVPs. But here's what Peyton Manning does better than Tom, and I'm going to tell you what Tom does better than Peyton. Peyton Manning can make passes that Tom can't make. Surgical precision passes. He's an offensive genius. He's an offensive coordinator. He is the greatest at passing certain passes that no one else can make. Okay, Craig, what about Tom Brady? When it's 4th and inches, he can do a quarterback sneak. He is the big
best sneaker of all time. Nobody's better.
Is that obnoxious? Is that funny? Did you like that?
No, he's the best.
I know, but I was being a little.
We're very proud of it.
Okay.
No, I know you were teasing, but we're also very proud of
you
his
took that
sneaks.
very well, by the way.
I did.
How's the mic? Is it okay like this?
Yeah,
I'm
you're
touching
good.
it. So I want to know when you fell in love with the NBA. Because I started playing in Minnesota in 2nd grade. My dad put up a basket.
2nd grade?
He put up he wanted me to play, my brother and I to play baseball. He loved Willie Mays. Seriously, I couldn't throw. I threw like this, which is effeminate. But I took the bat. He taught me one thing. He said, I'll teach you how to shoot a layup. Jump off your left leg, put it up. And I took to it. And my brother was 3 years ahead of me. So he's playing. Basketball started in 5th grade, organized basketball. So I'm in 2nd grade, and I'm watching my brother at practice, and I'm dribbling on the sideline. And the coach comes over, says, "Why are you dribbling with your left hand? Are you left-handed?" And I said, "No, I can already dribble with my right." So I really took to back. I was very coordinated. And you asked me what kind of player I was. I was 6'4" by the time I had a growth spurt, in a 6-inch growth spurt from 5th grade. I was 5'3", then I was 5'9" in 6th grade, and then I was 6'4" by 9th grade. And I was always I was a point guard. I apologize to you.
So
I was
like a Zach LaVine type.
I wasn't athletic like that.
Okay.
It's funny because our dear friend Albert Scooter Vertino told, I knew Flip Saunders very well. Sweet Superman. I love him. And I miss him so much. And I'm hoping Ryan will be part of Tom Thibodeau's staff. And Albert Scooter Vertino said, "Oh, Flip said you could do all the dunks in the world." There was a period where I could jump. It was my junior year in high school, and I knew Flip for a long time. Yeah. And we played summer league at Augsburg College and everything. And but I was an extremely good shooter and a very good passer, and I want to jump into passing.
So like a Kirk Heinrich?
Kirk is inconsistent. I used to say I was like
better than Kirk Heinrich. I like it.
Well, I'm a better shooter, but I'm sorry. I don't play defense, Bill.
Okay.
I have a bad back. When I was a freshman at Montana State, the coach said, "You have a body of a 42-year-old." The defensive stance, that I can't get in a defense.
You're upright all the time.
Oh, come on. Don't hurt me. I mean, think Wally Zerbiak. Okay.
Zerbiak.
No, I was quick. So I used to say I was like Reed Geddes, or I was like Pace Mannion, those type of players.
Pace Mannion. I like it.
But listen, this is what's interesting. You know, people talk about Steph Curry's great jump shot, and I love pure shooters. Yeah. And he can listen, Kobe took a lot of shots, and he was not a shooter like Steph. So let Steph take some force.
The greatest bad shot taker ever.
Exactly. And I remember people laughing when he missed, they had the highlight of him missing his whatever shot, the most misses in NBA history or whatever. And there was a fall away that was forced. Remember when Kobe did that this year?
You're talking about Kobe, yeah.
At Memphis or whatever the hell it was. So as a player, so Montana State, my sophomore year, I was recruited to play 2-guard. I ended up playing small forward, but you see, they got a really good 2-guard named Jeff Epperly. From Kalispell, Montana. He was supposed to go to the Grizzlies. Great athlete. He was a 6'4" white guy like Rex Chapman. I mean, wow, this guy. So he played ahead of me, and I was such a shooting the lights out in practice that sometimes I think it threw him off because he only was like a 40% shooter, but he would have been better. And there's a bunch of stories. But in my sophomore year, that's when college basketball had the 3-point line.
Yeah, finally.
ACC inside the top of the key. Mark Price pulling up. And Mark
Price,
it
was like a 19-footer.
Absolutely. Hilarious. And Mark Price is one of my favorite jump shooters. People talk about Steph. They say, is he like Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf because of the fast?
One of the great lost NBA players,
yes.
Mark Price.
And
he was Stockton, then he got hurt.
I loved Price's jump shot.
He was really good.
And so we had the longest, if you're sitting down, Bill, I need you to sit down. We had the longest 3-pointer in the college basketball in the Big Sky, 22 feet.
Ooh.
I didn't play all the time. I was a bench warmer.
Yeah.
They kicked off, there was some disciplinary action. They kicked off the starting point guard, senior, and the backup point guard midway through the season. I got my first start at Idaho, at the Kibbe Dome, Moscow, Idaho. They were a good team. They had a guy named Brian Kellerman. They made the tournament. I played 40 minutes. I had 2 turnovers. Because I'm really I was 8 for 9 from the floor, 4 for 4 and 3. I scored 20 points. We lost. I'm sorry. We lost.
I bet that your PER
It was a close game. It was a close game.
Yeah.
I was not, for the year, because I didn't play much, I was 9 for 20 on 3-pointers, and some of those were late in the game where I had to force them.
Were you eligible for the Big Sky 3-point title or no?
I don't know if I had enough.
Probably not 9 for 20.
I don't know.
Probably not.
But
that's pretty good though.
But so the defense, I like passing. Now this is kind of funny. I used to say, did you ever see the pass I made at Timberwolves training camp or not?
No.
Okay, it's on YouTube. It's fine.
Okay.
And I did a whole joke about the pass, but you mentioned Larry, and this is important. There's a type of passing I like. I made a pass that I had never made. The coach at Montana State, we fired our coach after my sophomore year. We got a new coach, and I was again a bench warmer. And I played a little bit, and I played a game where I was feeding the post and making some passes. And this guy had a little problem with me. It was hilarious. The next day in practice, he pulled everyone together and he touched everyone's chest. Kilborn's a better passer than you. He's a better passer than you. He's a better passer. Now, he didn't want to play me because of defense, but he wanted these guys to learn how to pass. And he was trying to inspire the team, and he was so pleased with my pass. I love passing. It's the greatest thing in the world. And I had this joke where I've said there are only jokingly in the world, 3 people that have eyes in the back of their head, and I'm one of them with Larry and Arvidas. That was my joke. I think I got the joke from there was a father who said that about his son out of high school. You're going to love this. He said, after Magic Johnson and after Larry Bird, Leo Rautins is the best passer in the world.
Leo Rautins, Canadian.
He was the player. He went to Minnesota and then transferred to Syracuse.
Yeah.
He was second in the Big Ten to passing to a guy named Magic Johnson. He played as a freshman. Leo Rautins. He was the best player from Canada. He had a little bit of a put. You know,
The Coos had the eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah, but yes.
I mean, he literally, I think he could see peripherally. I think he could see at 90-degree angles.
And here's the thing that I find interesting about, I love passing, and I was thinking about this. I had a conversation a few years ago with Chris Webber, and I said, and you can disagree, because I was stunned.
Very good passer.
Yes, but I was stunned. And I said, well, Larry's the best passer best passing forward of all time. And he said, LeBron. Have you not seen LeBron?
Oh, no.
And I was stunned, and he looked at me.
Oh, God.
And I said, maybe I'm being seduced by the touch passes.
No.
And you know what I thought? I said, okay, maybe. And this is what it is. Stockton makes all the right passes, and LeBron makes all the right passes. The other thing is this. This is the key. This is the detail that I love. I love passing. I used to hang out with Nash, and I had dinner, and I would say, I thought when you played with Dallas, you over dribbled when you circled underneath and probed.
Yeah.
But now with Phoenix, I love it. It's an art form. Beautiful. But guys that move and dribble, they're creating angles. I like the guys like Arvidas and Larry who are stationary and do this.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Bill Walton did it too.
The touch passes. And there is a pass that Larry made. Oh, my Lord. It was in an all-star game. It was an offensive rebound, and he jumped up and
he touch pass.
to touch tap. Down to George Gervin.
Yeah.
Touch passes to me are so... That thing underneath them...
Well, the other thing Bird and Magic did, they would know what pass they were going to make like 3 seconds before it happened.
Yeah.
They would dribble to a spot to bring the guy over, and then they'd be whipping it behind their head because they brought the guy over, and now this guy was open. They saw it like a chessboard. I don't think LeBron totally sees it that way. I think he's a great passer. Like, oh, you're open, I'm passing to you.
Well,
but
I
he's
almost,
not like, this is a 5-second sequence that will lead to me passing.
Yeah, when Weber said that, I almost felt like, oh, God, I'm being a fan where I'm being seduced by the how fancy Larry is. But I thought, Stockton. I mean, I don't care if Stockton has more assists than Magic. Magic's the greatest passer of all time. But in my opinion, I just think... So I was wondering, does LeBron make all the right passes? Okay, he's a great passer.
But I always called it, there's a contagion that happens with great passers where when you're such a good passer... The other guys in the team start seeing the same things. Like Bird made McHale a good passer.
Absolutely.
McHale was a black hole.
Absolutely.
And by 86, McHale could see dudes.
Absolutely.
That's the final level for me.
The other basic thing is with passing is if you make an entry pass to the side, just entry pass, and the guy's open, he's not supposed to shoot the 3-pointer or the 20-footer because get some ball movement.
Yeah.
And he might miss it because of that. But when someone penetrates, let's say Ricky, and dumps it out and makes a firm pass, you're going to probably make... I say he's going to make this because it was such a nice pass. It's instinctive. The guy's going to really make this shot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's an underrated thing about passing is getting the guy the ball in a spot where it's all one motion shot, which most people don't realize. Like Westbrook will throw passes and the guy's reaching backwards for it.
I'm going to make excuses. Okay. Okay. What you just said, this is the problem. You remind me of so many things. Years ago, I was asked to referee a 3-point shooting contest on TNT between Kenny Smith and Steve Kerr. Okay?
How many years ago are we talking?
2004, when the Wolves had the Western Conference Finals or whatever. And I woke up, and I'll just say it was a late night. Okay?
Yeah.
There was a time in my life where there was nothing better than after the show going to Mastro's and being with the late great actor. He sadly passed away. Get Shorty. What was my buddy from Chicago? The great actor from Chicago. He was in Get Shorty. Why am I slipping? This is why I woke up too early. It's come on, the guy with the mustache what's your buddy?
Dennis Farina.
Dennis Farina, sweetest man in the world. He sadly passed away.
You went Get Shorty for Dennis Farina over Midnight Run?
Midnight Run is
I feel like he's Midnight Run's Dennis Farina.
It is.
Okay.
That was the one that popped in. I've only seen
You were
Midnight
friends with
Run.
Dennis Farina?
I've never seen. Oh, he's funny. He was at. We would go to Mastro's. He would say, "Park in the back, walk through the kitchen," and that's when I used to love drinking a martini. Greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And coasting on the air. I'm kidding. Coasting through the second interview. So you go out there, and he was wearing this. I said he was wearing this sweater. I said, "Is that peach?" He goes, "It's salmon. It's salmon."
Salmon.
It's not peach. And I used to call up on
Wait,
Friday.
you were finishing you were at Mastro's, and there was a basketball. There was a payoff for the Mastro's thing.
What were we talking about?
Passing. We were talking. Oh, Steve Kerr, and Kenny Smith 3-point contest.
I had a late night, and then I wake up in the morning. And I go, God, I'm so glad I don't know how old I am, 42 or something.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have to play ball anymore.
Yeah.
So glad. They call me. Scooter says, "Hey, Kenny can't make it. You got to go up against Kerr in the 3-point contest." And I'm like, "Oh,
Kenny can't make it."
Yeah, Kenny's busy, whatever. So I'm bummed, and I'm like, so now I still have alcohol in my system, and I have a bad back, and I'm going So I start shooting around. I'm wearing a Sam Cassell Wolves jersey, and this is the year 2004. And
Great year.
Steve, he goes, "Wow, you can shoot," because I can shoot a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're only going to do 3 racks, okay? The first rack on the baseline, left baseline, I miss all 5, and it's over. And then the next rack, I made 4 out of 5, which is kind of my spot. And then I don't know, maybe 2 out of 5. And he won, And he says to me, this is funny, because I know a little bit. I worked really hard on my shot. I could shoot. I have Freddie Brown had beautiful, I like form. Freddie Brown had beautiful form. I like guys that have beautiful form, okay? And I thought Mark Price had a beautiful jump shot. He says, you might want to put your legs a little wider. And I'm thinking, I'm very particular about my legs. It's like Andrew Wiggins, when he's at the foul line, I want his right foot to be he has them parallel. Put your right foot slightly forward. And I'm thinking, well, who's telling me this? The guy with the widest stance in the NBA. You know how Kerr had the really exaggerated wide stance. But what he said, which was and here come the excuses besides the late night. He said, "Have you ever shot off a rack before?" I said, "No, I've never shot off a rack before." He goes, "It's not. It's an unnatural. It's like a bad pass. You're pulling it this way. What you just said. You're pulling it across your body and going like this, and that's until you practice that, you're not going to.
And that's why you have to spread your legs?
No, that was 2 different points. One is spread your legs. That was one of his points. And I thought I have a proper leg spread. I've always felt I have a proper leg spread. Yeah. So, anyways, you're right about that. You got to put the ball there. Let me jump. Have you ever used this argument? You say Michael Jordan's the greatest player of all time. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Larry's a better shooter, passer, and rebounder. Have you ever yet used that? Because I've read it, and it's true. He is a better shooter, passer, and rebounder. And, of course, Michael's the greatest.
That's pretty good.
You never heard that?
No, I like it.
It's the greatest. He beats him in those 3 categories.
That's pretty good.
How many 6'9"
I'm
guys?
use that.
How many 6'9" guys can shoot 3-pointers like that? When you talk about shooters, and some guys go, "What do you mean by a shooter?" And I'm mainly talking jump shot, free throws, pure. But also, you want to add shooting. You want to talk about left hand and right hand around the basket. I mean, the guy. But
Steph took his title though.
That's fine.
As bummed.
I don't
He had
care.
a nice run with it, but now I would admit Steph's the best shooter
I told you this
ever.
the other day, but I love those guys at Indiana State. They said, "Yeah." Because Larry broke his shooting his pointer finger on his right hand in college.
In a
softball game right before the draft. And he's like, his friends at college, "Yeah, he shot pretty well in the pros, but man, you should have seen him in college. He couldn't miss." I always love that.
The 2 worst things that happened to him, he broke his finger in a college softball game, and then he hurt his back shoveling because he was tarring his driveway in French Lick and wouldn't pay people to do it because he didn't believe in paying manual laborers.
Right.
And his back was never the same. Those were the 2 injuries that derailed his greatness.
Yeah,
What a
he had
shame.
So
Can we talk about the playoffs or no?
Yeah, I
you watching
want to
anything?
get rid of this because I want to get rid of this little thing I have for you.
Okay, do your thing.
I started playing in 2nd grade. Did you play growing up?
I did.
Okay. Were you any good?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I was good, but not like good to.
But you loved the game.
I loved it. I peaked when I was like 12.
Okay.
I don't know why. I grew 6 inches, and my body never recovered from it.
So my brother and I, he was an older brother. He was into science fiction. I was into Monty Python and Fernwood Tonight. He liked. Remember once I slept through 2 in the afternoon down in Minnesota. You have basements. They're big rooms, and cool, and in the summertime you have a TV room down in your basement.
Basements are coming back in LA, by the way.
Well,
people are building
really?
basements. Yeah. I'm a little scared of basements.
Journey to the Center of the Earth was on, and I was probably 10 years old, and I slept through it on the couch, and he goes, you're anemic. I learned this because you're tired all the time, and I learned the word anemic from my brother. But we would change our names. Instead of working on our basketball game, we'd go to the court, and we'd put on the wristbands and practice running out for introductions and giving each other five or fists. And here were the names. He was Satchel Holland. We basically take a name and test. He was Satchel Holland because we thought our name. We liked Julius Erving's name so much.
It's a great name.
And I was Sweetwater.
Moses Malone, another good one.
I was Sweetwater Gilmore, and my nickname was Golden Boy Buttercup.
Sweetwater Gilmore, I like.
Yes. And at some point when Doctor came to the Sixers, and I was more in the Doctor than my brother was, my brother was lone valedictorian of his graduating class of 500, which they will not do now. They will name salutatorians. But he was very bright guy and wasn't all immersed into basketball. He actually cared about his academics. Good kid, great brother, great human being, handsome man, high jump record. I could go on and on. Great calves. I don't have calves. He has great calves. Brown hair. Okay. He wrote 4 Dr. J limericks when I was maybe in 8th grade or whatever it was. And I remember 2 of them. I'd like to read them to you now. I sent him, I said, do you remember all 4? He goes, I don't remember all 4. These are just Dr. J limericks from a teenager in Minnesota. Did you do the limericks or not?
I feel like it's cliched to read Dr. J limericks on a oh no, it's not. This has never happened before.
Does it happen all the time?
No, it's never happened.
Is this good or bad?
This is good.
Because I
can't wait for your Dr. J limerick.
Now what does that mean? Because when as a kid it was kind of fun.
It's fun now.
And by the way, I'm not a fan of limericks.
In 2016, it's fun.
I'm not a fan of limericks. I think they're boring. I'm not, and I also have a thing about puns are the lowest form of humor. Blah 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 blah. But this was when I was a kid, and my brother. I think it was because I got my brother to talk. I made people talk about Dr. J, the Baryshnikov of basketball. I was obnoxious. Like I'm now obsessed. This is kind of. If you knew the sitcoms I did not see, I've never seen Friends. I didn't really watch Seinfeld. I didn't watch Seinfeld. I'm obsessed with, I told you the other day, Frasier.
Yeah.
And I watched it after the fact. And I watched it after interviewing Jane Leaves, Daphne Moon, the beautiful Daphne Moon. So I was really into Dr. J. So my brother does... There once was a man from the sky, the Philadelphian said he could fly. He slam dunked his way through the NBA, the doctor from Roosevelt High. They're nice. Listen to these words. This is the only other one I know. There once was a man named Irving, and all manner of jams was he serving. He strutted his stuff, and that was enough, for his high wire act was unnerving. That's my big brother. I love my big brother. He's such a wonderful human being.
Did you watch?
He's introverted, by the way. He's an introvert.
But he's a limerick specialist.
Yes, and so he was a software engineer. He goes down to Rice University, where Paul Pierce, what's his name? Pierce. What's the guy? The shooter. Ricky Pierce. Ricky Pierce. Tommy Kramer. And he goes down to Rice, and he says, I'm going to walk on the team. And I said, okay. And he does really, he's much better. He's a better athlete than I am, but was not as good a basketball player. He was 6'3", and he played post in high school, which a lot of guys do. So he plays, but he doesn't. He says, my academic load was too much. I had to drop out of the team, but I was doing well, and Mike Schuler was the head coach. So one day he's playing one-on-one. He's in the gym by himself shooting. He's doing class. He's shooting by himself. There's a nondescript white guy that comes down and says, "Hey, do you want to go one-on-one?" And my brother's good one-on-one. Yeah. He's a good defender, and he's good. And they play to like 11, and they have to go to extra. They have to be like 13-11. This guy beats my brother, and my brother is kind of impressed, like, wow, you're pretty good. He goes, did you play in college? He goes, yeah, I played at South Carolina. He goes, what do you do now? He goes, I play for the Rockets. I'm Mike Dunleavy.
Wow. Mike Dunleavy, but years before he ruined the Clippers.
Yeah.
Although he claims he didn't.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm taking a break now. I'm just going to drink some water.
All right. Let's take a quick break from Craig to talk about Blue Apron, which has been a huge asset in my house the last couple of days because my wife has been using Blue Apron to make our dinners. Blue Apron knows that when you cook with incredible ingredients, you make incredible meals, and they set the highest quality standards for their community of artisanal suppliers, family-run farms, fisheries, and ranchers. And for less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make you delicious home-cooked meal. New recipes are created each week by their culinary team. You can customize your recipes each week based on your preferences and choose your delivery options to fit your needs. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe. Check out this week's menu. Get your 2 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/BS. So far this week, I've had steak and I've had chicken that kind of tasted like the tiki marsala chicken that I like. It was a little variation of it. It was delicious. My kids liked it. It was all great. And you know what? Delivery is too expensive. So just use Blue Apron. blueapron.com/BS. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. And since we're here, I want to talk about our buddies at MailChimp. They helped us launch an incredible newsletter for The Ringer that we've been updating 3 to 4 times a week. It's been a huge success for us. We are over 200,000 subscribers, and it's been an awesome place to showcase all of our writers before we launch. So if you're just getting started like we were, or if you're building a growing business like we are, I want you to know that MailChimp makes it super easy to connect with your customers and to sell more stuff. It's free to get started. There's no expiring trial. There is no credit card required. Thanks to MailChimp for helping me and everyone at The Ringer build our audience, because we are launching a website this summer. Go to MailChimp.com, check out everything they have to offer, and also go to TheRinger.com and subscribe to our newsletter because it's really good. Back to Craig Kilborn. All right, so I have some questions for you. Is there an NBA player that you would trade? You could have this guy for the next 12 years.
No, not over Karl Towns. No.
So nobody?
Nobody.
Curry?
No. But here's the thing. I wanted to ask you.
Warriors say to the T-Wolves, we've won 2 titles with Curry. We want Towns. Curry for Towns. You say no.
So, absolutely. I would never. No. So and the other thing is, I'm realistic about the Wolves. It's fun.
You have a good coach and a franchise player. I think you should be unrealistic.
You might be more. It's hard to win a championship. You said on the sidewalk outside of Compton the other day, you said they're going to win the championship. And I'm saying, come on.
No, I think they're the next great young team.
Okay.
I really do.
Now, do you know when they were struggling this year what one of their major flaws was? And it changed after the All-Star break a little bit. You know what one of their big flaws is?
The coach?
No. Well, no. They don't shoot. They're one of the worst teams in three-pointers.
Right. They need a shooter.
And that's where I kind of a little irritated with the three-point shot. It becomes so important now. And I would much rather watch Karl. I think it's more difficult than Steph Curry shooting a three-pointer or Klay Thompson. And those guys have great jump shots. And that's why they win. They have the 2 best shooters in the league. And Draymond Green's okay.
He's very good.
Yeah. But I think it's harder. Karl Towns shooting a left-handed jump hook is more difficult than a three-pointer, in my opinion, over a defender. But that's okay.
Or when Karl Towns fakes the jump shot, sweeping into the lane, C-web, my body's going in 9 different directions, and then it's a finger roll layup.
Yes.
I tried to demonstrate that for you on the sidewalk outside of Compton.
He's better than I thought he'd be. And I love Andrew Wiggins. And I
actually think he had the best season by a number 1 pick as a rookie that I can remember.
LaRue Martin. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He was a bust.
But LeBron was amazing in his rookie year for what he was. Yeah. And I think Towns was an amazing season. He went into Golden State and was the best player in that overtime against the best regular season team of all time.
So Zach.
What do you think of Wiggins though? Too passive?
That's
a little too passive?
I love him because he has Karl Towns and and the crunch time, he takes it to the rim. And I don't care if he obviously, if he had to carry a team himself, but it might be a pretty good marriage.
Well, that's the thing. If he's the 3rd best player on a title team, that's perfect. And he might be good enough to be the 2nd best player, but I'm not sure.
I think it depends on how. It's kind of funny. Someone said I don't know if he's 6'7" or 6'8". Someone said he is the worst 6'8" rebounder in NBA history. He doesn't rebound a lot.
It's true. He's not active enough for my liking.
I'm not worried about him because he is
very good defensive player though.
Yes, and he had a better rookie year defensively than he did the second year.
He needs to shoot threes. He needs to spend this summer just taking 1,000 threes a day until he gets better at them. And
he you're right, and he did that, and after the All-Star break, he started hitting his threes.
I don't think you understand what's going to happen with you with Tibbs. I think you know, but deep down, I don't think you really know. It's,
You know him
you're
better-
going from like
You know him better than I do.
You're going from like an 8th grade elementary science teacher to like a Nobel Peace Prize, a Nobel Prize winning Harvard professor who like figured out nuclear fission. That's the difference in coaching that you're about to have.
I love that we have him. You know him better than I. I'm not worried about him at all. I'm worried. I mean, the way the game has changed, I think the 3-point shot is becoming too important. It's
But you're going to be
I
able
think
to
there's
get
gonna be
shooters.
What's that?
You're going to be able to get shooters. People are going to want to play with Towns and
Yeah.
Wiggins and Tibbs and all these guys.
Well,
I don't know where Levine fits in.
I'll tell you the good news about Zach LaVine, and you actually said it the other day because I asked you. I don't know if you remember what you said. I said, "What do you think of him?" Because
I said he was a 6th man.
yes, and he is, and that's what I believe.
I said he's like offense off the bench.
He has
the
a
Ricky
really
Pierce
pretty
legacy.
He has a really pretty jump shot, and people get obsessed with his dunking. And you also said and made a good point. He can get to the rim and finish. It's amazing that I go, wow, he actually finished on that. He likes to go in the traffic. So his problem, which is a little scary, he's a little like John Starks, where he'll just start he'll take shots that you say that's a force, that's not a good shot, because he's reactive, he's instinctive, and he can get a shot off any time. But when he played point, it was ugly, and there were things that were said, and it wasn't his fault. But that's not what he did not start at UCLA.
I know. And he left after a year.
Yeah.
Would you like Serge Ibaka on your team? Because I feel like that trade makes sense. The lottery pick for Serge. Because Serge has become expendable in this Spurs series.
To be honest, when I said I did limited research,
Yeah.
I saw you say somewhere that.
Twitter.
So I looked him up.
Yeah.
He's only 26.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I don't think you could play him and Adams together.
Yeah.
Because then Ibaka has to play outside the paint, and that takes away like all of his athleticism.
God,
on your
this
team
is-
with Towns, he'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And plus, you have a lottery pick. That's the other thing.
I know.
You might win the lottery.
Yeah.
Might get Ben Simmons.
Do you like Ricky, by the way?
I do like Ricky, and I think he's a very good defensive player and a very good passer. And
The last two games-
his shooting is atrocious, and it's gotten slightly less atrocious, but it's still atrocious.
Yeah, he makes his free throws and he makes some shots. I love him. I love watching him. He actually, the last 2 games against the Warriors, at home it was a close game we lost, and the one we won in overtime at Golden State. It was like, oh my God, Steph really 6 for 20 and 6 for 17 or whatever it was. He plays good defense, and he's always the top 1 or 2 in steals.
Do you blame Kobe for maiming his knee?
It was
Accidental.
I don't know. But this is what I say about Ricky. When Rick Adelman was there, we had Kevin Love. We were 40 and 42 one year, and I say we. I can say we.
Absolutely.
It makes it
100%.
It makes it more personal. And he didn't score in the fourth quarter, and Kevin Love could be double teamed, blah blah blah. And they bring in Barea, who could score. But now it's and I said to people, okay, fine. If you guys want to trade Ricky, get a better point guard. You better get a better point guard. They tried to sign Eric Bledsoe at one point. If you can get a better point guard, well, I'm not worried about it. Ricky I really enjoy watching him. And if he gets traded, this is because I'm a basketball fan first, an NBA fan first, just like I watch Kevin Love on the Cavaliers. I'm happy for Kevin Love.
So you're happy for KG?
He's
That was gonna be one of my questions.
As I said to the great Jimmy Jam, who's KG's brother-in-law, I said I might be a bigger K at the time. I want KG to win a ring. He's done his job in Minnesota. Let him go. Win a ring. And it's not easy. Because KG said, there's no guarantee I win a ring. This is before he went to Boston. And he said, oh, okay. They talked him into going. He goes, I'll play with Steve Nash in Phoenix. Then he ended up going to Boston. And there was a commercial I remember finding out about you. You've seen that commercial?
Yeah.
They showed in Boston.
Yeah.
And KG's walking through that door. I mean, we love him. We love KG.
What was weird is we had the other way that it goes when Ray Bork got traded to Colorado because he couldn't win a cup with the Bruins, and everyone in Boston rooted for Ray Bork.
Finally, we get to talk hockey.
A proxy.
I waited 40 minutes to start talking hockey. Where have you been?
I'm talking fan proxy championships.
Oh,
so KG wins a title, and you feel a little bit.
I went to a hockey game.
Are you really a hockey fan?
I had to play in Minnesota. I could skate backwards. That's all you need to know.
Skate backwards.
Tarico took me to a Hartford Whalers game.
And That's right, the whale.
And I said, can we go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse first? I just want to. And I said, and I just sit there, and this is what I love about hockey fans. I have buddies that are hockey. I have a buddy who's a Ranger fan, and because I like passing, and they get so excited when there's a fight. That's when they get the most excited.
Like testosterone.
They're pugilists, you know. So I'm at the game and I said, because I don't follow, I said, who's number 8? He goes, why? I go, I just like the way he plays. It's Jeff Sanderson. He's the best passer and fastest skater on the team. I go, okay. Eyes in the back of the head.
Yeah, I remember Jeff Sanderson. Was Tirico?
That's enough hockey.
Enough hockey.
Can we do a little Vikings or not?
You can save it for 1 second
Yes,
because you
go
set me
ahead.
up with Tirico.
Yeah.
You're basically your rookie class in Bristol. When'd you get to Bristol? 94?
In the mid-90s, and
So Tirico, Eisen, who else?
no, Rich was not there.
Not there?
Now listen, they would the new guy would take in another new guy. So you had a person like when Brett Haber came, I was the last guy, so I had to take him under my wings. Love Brett Haber. Get good Brett Haber stories.
So Brett Haber's in your class.
But he wasn't there when I got there. The nicest guy in the world was the preceding new guy. Took me under his wing.
Mike Tirico.
Carl Ravitch,
Great guy.
one of the sweetest guys
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. So Ravitch,
Brett
Haber.
I'm going to tell I don't know if this is controversial because it's been so many years. This is a basic point about broadcasting.
Yeah.
I find broadcasting I find it very easy. Okay, that's why so many people can do it. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's, you have a person, and different guys like lawyers like Howard Cosell, whatever, become broadcasters. So Ravi, we're working together, and he's the greatest, and I'm goofing off, and I write these silly lead-ins, and I honestly didn't want to do too much on camera because I'm who the hell is this blonde, pretty boy guy? So I'd save most of my stuff where I could hide behind the highlights and go, oh, resourceful, look at Steve Kerr, all this.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell you now, catchphrase I was telling Akeem Olajuwon was, this is not, I'm jumping, but Akeem Olajuwon was out with anemia for a couple
Second
weeks.
anemia reference of the podcast.
Yeah, and again, my brother, I called him. I was going into work, and I said he's anemia. He goes, oh, he's coming back tonight. I got I'm going to watch the Rockets. I do the lead in. I say he's out with anemia for 2 weeks. So Akeem's in the game now. He's back after anemia. We go to the highlights. First quarter, Akeem, the red cell count is up. They give him the ball. Oh, hemoglobin. Like these ridiculous things. But here's what I wanted to say that's controversial. So Ravitch goes, and he goes, they're taking me off SportsCenter. You're going to be working with somebody else. I go, oh, come on, buddy. He goes, I'm doing baseball tonight. Yeah. And I said, oh. And I go, oh, interesting. You excited? He goes, I'm an NBA fan.
Ravitch.
Now, I don't want to get him in trouble because my point is, it's just like a reporter. If you don't know a story, you can research it and immerse yourself. And he immersed himself in baseball, and he's the greatest. He's the man. You know what I'm saying? But it's not, in other words, if you had to cover something, like if we're going to send you, we send you on assignment right now in Europe to cover.
I'm ready.
You can do it.
The Euros, I'm ready.
If you want to do it.
Yeah.
If you want to. Of course, I don't want to do certain things.
You started like at the 2 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Because I remember that's usually when I got home in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And the 2 a.m. was always a throwaway sports center. And then eventually started becoming a really fun sports center, and they would rerun it the next day. And
Yeah.
that's my buddy Gus was working with you the whole thing. Oh. You started experimenting.
Boy, was he funny.
Yeah.
He was great. Nice guy.
So
he was a Dr. J fan, by the way.
were you thinking when you got there, I'm here for a couple of years and it will lead to this, or you're just thinking this is great?
If you're
I don't know
sitting
what's gonna
down,
happen?
when I was in college,
Yeah.
you know, I there was a part of me that said, "Oh, I love basketball. I want to do. Maybe I'll be like Chick Hearn. I can't. I don't. Some of these guys can't do play-by-play. I'm not a good play. I did a little play. I'm average or below average. You know, that's why Tirico, he can do studio and play-by-play.
Yeah.
But in college, I was like, secretly, you don't say this. I like Johnny Carson, and I also like Cheers. But
So you wanted a talk show?
yeah, I almost didn't go to ESPN. My buddies wanted me to do stand up. When I came at the late '80s, I used to go to the Comedy Store and watch Argus Hamilton, Jackson Purdue. These are names, and then Dice Clay was there at the beginning, and then I saw Jim Carrey before he did In Living Color. This is in the late '80s, and he would not do any jokes. He would sit there and do 20 different. Now here's David Bowie, fame. He would morph into these different impressions, and I decided, and it was. I'm looking back. I had noticed. I thought about stand. I used to go to the Ice House in Pasadena and watch guys talk. And the guy who ran the Ice House said, Letterman, he didn't like stand up. He liked hosting the night. Blah blah blah. And I had too much respect for they said, don't do stand up to do something else. Do it because you want to do stand up.
Right. It's in your DNA.
Yes. And I have what I consider the appropriate amount of respect for it. But I would say that there are some people that aren't you're not funny just because you do stand up. You have guts to do it. And you're not charismatic just because you do stand up. Because some guys are not that charismatic or not that fun. They just do it because they love it. That's good. Doesn't mean you're as funny as Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah.
How funny is that guy, by the way? I mean, it's pretty amazing, right?
He's broadcaster funny.
Yeah.
It's like when athletes are athlete funny, but they're not actually funny.
Well, it's a thing where...
You know what I mean?
Well, Barkley's funny, but these guys...
Like, Barkley's funny.
Yeah.
Like
I actually think Van Gundy's funny, but I could be wrong.
You think Van Gundy's funny?
Yeah.
I think he's funny.
But I like guys. There's an aspect to comedy where I think it's too desperate. I like it when it's a little cooler. I like it when you're like, I was going to say Churchill, a world leader who's very like Churchill had all these.
Right.
He got on a boat once and he goes, "What? Enough with this." I like an Italian boat, and it was like, it's not women and children first. He goes, "Good. That's ridiculous." Like he did all these. And you know all the famous Churchill stuff, right? You know, you'll be ugly. You know, you're drunk, yes, but in the morning I'll be sober and you'll still be ugly. Blah blah blah. But so yeah, I wanted to do. I almost didn't do. I didn't want to do the Daily Show for very long. I just wanted to do a network talk show, and then of course, where I'm a little controversial, I walked away because it was dysfunctional or whatever reasons. It's going to be in the book. I'm going to save it for the book.
What book?
The book that I write one day.
You're not writing it though.
No, I just have anecdotes. Well,
I remember Gus and I are really close, especially back then. We used to talk all the time because you didn't have email. You actually had to call somebody and have conversations with them. And I'd be like, this Kilborn's fucking great on these.
Oh my God, you can
and
swear.
Gus would be like, he wants to have a late night show. He's not going to be here very long.
Yeah, so that was fun. And I'm trying to think of, You reminded me.
But isn't it better if I don't ask you why you're not on TV anymore? Because I like the mystery that you've created about yourself.
You know what I would say to you? If you asked me, I'd say it's a story for another day. I would probably just say that.
That's great.
I heard your podcast.
I like that you just kind of pop in and out.
Thank
and
you.
everybody's like, wait a second.
Also,
even when I saw you, I was like, oh my God.
Would you be nice to the guys? I got some
Which
requests. Guys? Well, Colin and these guys are asking me to do their show, and they're all great. I just don't want to. This was a baby step, and I like this. I don't see any cameras. I don't even know what a podcast.
This was a fluke. We ran into each other.
I want someone to walk me through a podcast, because my brother and I used to do this with tape recorders after watching Monty Python. I wanted to ask you. I heard you the other day on your podcast
with Rappaport.
Good energy. Great
energy from Rappaport.
Right. I heard him mention he's excited about David Blatt, and then he said other things. That was great. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy. You said Eddie Murphy. What was your thing? He's the greatest or what?
I said Eddie Murphy was the greatest SNL cast member of all time. He was the only one who was actually overqualified to be on the show.
Okay, and...
I think Will Ferrell was a close second. Okay. But I think Eddie Murphy, when he was on the show the entire time, I felt like he was too famous and too gifted to just be on a television show. It was always clear he was going to do something much bigger.
One of the more entertaining topics to me is to listen to people. And my big calm disagreement is with human nature and instincts in general, overrating a Kobe. There'll be a championship team every year. If you expand the NBA by 10 teams, there's still going to be a championship team. It does not mean it's a good championship team.
So you hate recency bias?
Yes, whatever that term. There's a new term. Oh my God! I was telling a friend of mine. There's a term. This buddy of mine was at he was at a job for 20 some years at a newspaper, and he's a big liberal, but he said he hates political correctness, and he said this woman quit. She says it's so heteronormative, and he had not heard the term before.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, you can put it together. You can figure it out. But I wanted to say, I'm entertained by opinions. That's why I get back to who's the biggest whiner in the NBA. And one of the more entertaining things is when people break down people's talent.
Yeah.
And now it is fun when it's Prince, but there is something beyond talent. Like there are more talented actors than Clint Eastwood, but I love Clint Eastwood. There are movie stars that, are movie stars. I like James Spader. Okay. I just have to represent. So Eddie Murphy is extremely talented, and he's also sang. He also did a party all the time, and he did the raw stand-up thing. I have a favorite that a lot of us You know how all of us loved Letterman? Again,
Yeah.
I'm
Letterman's my favorite.
I'm maybe 2 years older than you.
No, Letterman's
a
my
couple
dude.
years older. All of us love Letterman. My favorite is Johnny Carson, then Steve Allen, then Dave Letterman. There's one guy that is the funniest guy and our favorite guy of all time from SNL, and we're just like, he's the man. So,
Who is it?
Who is that, Bill?
It could be Will Ferrell. It could be John Belushi.
Wow. I'll wait over here.
Could be Dana Carvey.
You're having a
Who is it?
Bill Murray.
Okay.
Wow. So years ago at ESPN, I've told this story before, there were some youngins, Carl Ravitch, I think Steve Levy, who said, well, Chevy Chase is funnier than Bill Murray.
Well, that's not true.
And Dan Patrick and Keith and I were like, no, but that's okay. And I asked a question. Bill, by the way, later called me.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. I asked them, are you familiar with the lounge singer on SNL? He goes, no, I never saw him do the lounge singer. Oh, so you don't know.
Yeah.
What, you just saw Caddyshack when he was the groundskeeper? Is that all you know? Bill is the man. He's the greatest, the funniest man ever. And I got to interview him a number of times.
But how much of that opinion is colored by what he did after he left the show? I was just talking purely for the show.
Oh, okay, guess what, Bill? You probably watched SNL with Eddie Murphy. I only saw a little bit. I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
just saying, Bill.
I was an only child, so I saw all the SNLs.
So Bill is this is kind of funny. The greatest thing he does is his appearance on Letterman. I mean, his appearances on Letterman are the greatest.
He's had a 40-year run of just being consistently charismatically funny, which Eddie Murphy really, by the early 90s, just wasn't funny anymore.
But one thing I'll say is he doesn't do a lot of comedy movies now. He obviously does dramatic stuff, and Jim Jarmusch with the long setup shots and stuff, the independent stuff. But
a lot of comedians, that happens, where they've just run out of ways to make funny films, and they start going. Like I thought Bill Murray was amazing in Lost in Translation. Mm-hmm. I thought he should have won the Oscar. And he wasn't funny in that, but he was just being. Yeah, it was like he's got a couple different personalities, and that was one of them.
Yeah, he's. It's so funny.
Who was the best guest you had on the CBS show? Like the one that you were the most fanboyish about?
The only guy I got nervous about was Clint Eastwood.
Really? Because he was taller than you?
No, he's not taller, but
did you have an inch on him?
I'm not going to tell it. I'll tell it off. I could tell it. My greatest story is a Clint Eastwood story. I'll tell you off air, but then you'll repeat it. But maybe I'll save it for another time. It's a great story.
That is the all-time tease.
I apologize. But I've told it.
Is it an offensive story?
I have to work blue, but not very much.
So why can't you just tell it?
It's the greatest story.
Everybody's been listening for an hour. You can't tell them a Clint
Eastwood
Eastwood story?
So, by the way, one of the 5 questions was, okay, finally show us, I want you to squint because it's sunny, and then squint because you're mad. Like, dude, he's just squinting. And he's like, I paid a lot of money to squint. I'm not going to do it here for free.
He said that?
Yeah.
That's great.
I gave him a heads up. I give people a heads up sometimes on the 5 questions.
Letterman never came on, did he?
No.
Did you ever interact with Letterman?
I'm glad you asked, because this is for you. I'm handing this to you.
Thank you.
Handing this to you.
I appreciate it.
So I like to call him Tortured Dave, but he was the greatest. Blah 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 blah.
He picked you.
Yeah. I don't think
you get the job unless he says it's okay. You can give it to that guy.
Yeah. I would take pride if someone says I'm not his cup of tea. I would enjoy that, because Johnny is cool and smooth, and my dad said that. Now, my dad was a big Carson fan. Then it became a little bit of a dork festival. That's my dad. Those are my dad's words, not mine. But he called me once. Remember Ray Romano said, "Does he call you? Did he call you after your first show?" I said, "Yeah." It was a quick call. Good job. Good luck. Blah blah blah. Then he called me a few months later, and it's very funny. And he called me for something else. And Rob Burnett, who's the guy that I dealt with, was surprised that David called. And we were having a little trouble with our executive producer. And just as an interesting note, because I do have a lot of anecdotes on this stuff, they were saving money where they hired a guy who was both the head writer and the executive producer. And I thought he would have been great as just the head writer. He's a very funny guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but we had to let him go, blah, blah, and blah, blah, blah. And I was influeed by some certain executives that said, blah. So And that's why Dave called, because he knew he was making a change. But I remember Rob had kind of handpicked this guy, but they were saving money by having a dual role. And it's not easy to be creative and then also have the boring ass meetings where you have to talk about what we're going to put in the break room, which is almost like, so this is a joke that Rob goes, Craig, there are two types of executive producers, okay? There's the kind like me who's the writer, and the other guys like so-and-so. Dave, we need a new carpet around your desk now. Like these guys, he's the kind of dismissing.
Yeah,
like,
this whole person's entire job.
You're not fine. But
Right.
so Dave calls me and he only called because he wanted to know, he wanted to see how everything was going because he knew I was making a change. And at the end of the phone call, I said to him, listen, you're loyal to people. That's a great quality. I'm just trying to find people I want to be loyal to. And he says, fine, great. But at the beginning of the phone call, because and I remember telling my dad, he goes, that's an 11-minute phone call. This is how Dave opened. He goes, how you doing? Yeah. Whatever happened to Christian Laettner?
That was his opener?
Because he knew I liked basketball, and he must have interviewed Christian Laettner. He was like, what's up? Maybe he was like, there's another pretty boy. What happened to him? And I said, well, he was drafted third by the Wolves, and he had a decent career, great college player. He actually made he goes, an all-star. He goes 1 year with Atlanta. He made the all-star team, or all-star game. But isn't that funny that he, and he also mocked Leno on the phone call. It was, I was remembering.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. He goes, let me tell you about Jay. He's the kind of guy that would help you with you got a flat tire, he'd stop and help you with a flat tire. And blah, blah, blah. But, so that was, that's pretty funny.
So did you call him when you decided to leave the show?
Yes, I did.
How'd that go?
It went well. I thanked him for the job. I said, thank you, sir. And I said, listen, it's just me. I'm peripatetic like Larry Brown. I used to basketball. I'm looking for the perfect thing. But it was I had 15. I don't want to get into it. 15 writers.
We don't have to get
15 writers at the Daily Show. It was just a smaller show. Blah blah blah. It was good. The problem is, I can only really share that decision with myself. Some people find it admirable, but if I say it was such an easy decision, so cathartic, escaping the dysfunction. But I will say this because I can kind of transition. Our friend Jimmy Kimmel, and I ran into him a few times, and there are things that
he likes you.
Yeah, I really don't miss certain things. And I said to Jimmy, Jimmy, I was at some charity event you had to host, and you did a great job. Tell me you hate doing those because it's extra work. It's extra work. Now, I obviously has a bigger staffing, but hosting award shows and extra. He says I hate it, and he goes, God, I just did one and I bombed in front of Bill Gates. I mean. It's really a lot of extra work. There are things you have to do to promote your show that it's a real headache. And also the thing that all these guys talk about which is different, which are corporate events. Corporate events. I've heard Letterman complain. He goes, I did a corporate event. He was talking to a guest. He goes, they're really hard sometimes. You can just be the funniest man in the world and bomb at a corporate event.
Yeah.
And then you can and I've done a few, and the last one I did, it went well, and this is the reason it goes well. It was up in San Francisco, my favorite city, and it was for some beverage wine company that did beverages or whatever, and it was a beverage company, and they wrote this, and they said, and they write inside jokes for all the people, and that's when So if you do a Bush joke or a Clinton joke, that they've already heard it. So you do joke about Bob on the second floor. Oh my God, that's hilarious. And I just remember I took my lady friend up there, and the thing was called it was in a little conference room I did it the whole day. They kept putting people in, they flew them in, and it was like 30 people, and it was called the Daily Spill. How wine spills. It's like that. Yeah. But all I know is this is why you go there. They put us in the penthouse of the St. Francis in Union Square. And you don't have to put down your credit card, and it's all that kind of fun stuff. And and they pay you well, and we get to go out and eat, and it was just sometimes they go well, sometimes the corporate event. But I ran into Jimmy, and there's a headache, and I didn't like disposable comedy in late night. Now it's not as disposable now, but when I would write you do the 4 monologue jokes, you do in the news or whatever, you do a desk chat.
The kind of keeping the trains moving.
And if I crafted out a desk chat that I liked on Monday, I was like, okay, I want to enjoy that for a few days. No, you got another show Tuesday. You got to do another thing. You have to keep churning out stuff. And I like, that's why, are you a Frasier fan at all or not?
I liked it when it was on, but
Isn't it sad that I'm talking about it now? It's kind of sad, right? I just think it's. I love that.
Well, so, I mean, one of my weird theories, and I'm known to have a lot of weird theories. I don't think it's a normal life to host a late night show, because I worked for Jimmy for the first 18 months he had a show, right?
Right.
The grind of that day in, day out, not just putting together the show and it's over and then, got another one tomorrow. And you got to keep doing that, but also just having to have that energy and knowing every day you're planning the show, you're the point man, you're doing everything. And then also separate of that, at 5 o'clock, I have to be on TV. I have to perform. And it's almost like you got to rise to the occasion like an NBA player.
Right.
Then you crash.
Correct.
And then you got to do it again and
Correct.
again. And I think it's a really hard process.
It is.
I think it's freaking grueling.
I remember in local TV in Monterey, it was the 110 market. I got my start up there, and I'd interned in Minneapolis. And the sportscaster, said, "All you have to do once a day, 5 minutes of sports. Just be up for 5 minutes. That's not the way he explained it. Yeah, you got be. That's not difficult. 5 minutes, do it. So you do these shows, and again, the best thing is the writers' room where you're.
Yeah, the camaraderie is the best.
You're talking.
Yeah.
I mean,
throwing ideas around.
Oh my God!
Comedy writers can't make each other laugh.
Yeah,
it becomes like it's like climbing a ladder to see who can go higher.
I remember
to jump
I was
off
doing
it.
5 questions for Larry Flint, and
Yeah.
Alex Sulkin started throwing Larry Flint impressions.
Right, you cross every line. Yeah, it's the best.
It's great, and he does Sulkin does voices. He does a great Gregory Peck and all this kind of fun stuff. And so yeah, that's the best part. But I don't miss it at all. But when you mention you crash, where I had friends visit me and they wanted to see me for dinner after the show, and I did, but I was absent because I wanted to. I either want to be by
just like a zombie.
Yes. And then, Rob Burnett would say, yeah, Dave couldn't really, really get out of that until 2 p.m. Saturday. That's when you kind of rest and you sleep, and maybe I can breathe a little bit.
Well, that's why Kimmel...
You do have to make a lot of decisions. I made so many. It was like, I remember once I said, because I was making a lot of decisions and I was hands-on, and I don't know, just 6 months. And I'm walking after rehearsal, and I actually turned mine off only because I'm responsible. But the adjacent studio was an ABC show.
Yeah.
Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And they painted on the wall. They had painted ever since I was there, Politically Incorrect Bill Maher, on the entrance on the wall entering the studio doors in the hallway. I walk by it every day. And so I have my head down because I'm working on all this stuff. Sebastian the Asexual, Icon, Yambo, name it, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And one day I said, God, why don't I have a painted thing here, Late Show, Now, my point is I wish I didn't have to come up with it, but that's fine. So I went to the line producer. You're smiling. And the line producer goes,
That's a fair point, though.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it happened. They did it.
But you had to mention it.
Yeah, but that's okay. But I want to make this is a beautiful point. One of my favorite lines in life, and this is the way do you ever see the John Wooden documentary on HBO?
Yeah, of course.
He came out from the Midwest.
Yeah.
He came out from the Midwest with 3 things his father told him. Drink deeply from good books. Make each day your masterpiece. And don't complain. I love Don't Complain. That's one of my favorites. Don't complain.
It's a good one.
Just leave.
So
okay,
I think
what's the time we're at right
no,
now?
we're pretty much done. I do think that Kimmel there's something about how he operates day to day that he's very well equipped to do that show because he's just always engaged. You can email him at any point of the day and he's ready to go. And I just think you have to be wired that way. But I think it's interesting. Stewart and Letterman both leave their shows and immediately grow giant beards.
Yeah, it's no fun shaving. It's no fun shaving.
Is that where you think it's
That's
the
the worst.
shaving thing, or it's just like you almost want to assume a new identity?
No, it was the worst part of the job was shaving, and I would do this thing where I would shave on Monday and not shave again until Wednesday, and they would say, "Why?" Sometimes I'd have a little, very stylish stubble on me,
Right.
I mean, is that Beckham? What's going on? But anyways.
All right, we're gonna go because I took too
Thank
much
you,
of your
Bill.
time.
Thank you.
This was awesome. We saved some stuff for the next time. If you ever want to do this again, you might not.
If I tell you the Clint Eastwood story off camera, off air, will you not repeat it to anybody?
Of course.
You promise? Because
I promise.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Pleasure seeing you.
And if you win the lottery, will you come back?
What lottery?
Minnesota.
Oh, Oh, that might be too soon. I don't want you to get bored with me. Good luck with your new show, by the way. Good luck with your new show.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. It was great to see you.
Nice to see you.
All right, thanks to Craig Kilborn. Thanks to MailChimp for helping me and everyone at The Ringer build our audience. Go to MailChimp.com. Check out everything they have to offer. And go to TheRinger.com to subscribe to our newsletter. You can see how good of a job MailChimp does with stuff. Again, it's free. MailChimp.com. And thanks to Blue Apron. Stop ordering expensive takeout for less than $10 per meal. Blue Apron will deliver you all the fresh ingredients that you need for a delicious and healthy home-cooked meal. Right now, you can get your first 2 meals for free by going to blueapron.com/BS and check out our new podcast feeds. We have The Watch, we have Keeping It 1600, we have The Ringer NBA Show, and we have The Ringer NFL Show. On The Ringer NFL Show next week, starting next week, Robert Mays and Kevin Clark have a big 10-part series about the best players at every position that you care about in the NFL. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to keep popping in on the NBA playoff show for The Ringer and all the other stuff that we are doing. Please, it really helps us when you subscribe to the podcast, and it helps when you comment in the iTunes feed for us. We had a great week. We were 1, 2, 3 on iTunes for a few days there. And we had 3 of like the top 7 or top 8. So that was awesome. Thank you for supporting the Ringer Podcast Network. And we'll be back tomorrow.
Anytime y'all want to see me again, rewind this track right here, close your eyes, and picture me rolling.
Hey, this is Kevin Clark. This week on the Ringer NFL Show, I speak with Andrew Luck about his obsession with books and the weird 2015 season in Indianapolis.
The true Lord of the Rings buff on the team is Anthony Costanzo.
Wow.
So, and our lockers are very close to each other in the locker room, and I definitely have an appreciation for Tolkien, the books and the movies. So there'll be some obscure references every now and then.
Make sure to subscribe to the Ringer NFL Show on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play Music.